Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our Auto Collision Repair and Refinishing webinar with author Joe Baker. My name is Kathy Sheffers, and I'm on the marketing team at Goodheart-Willcox. I am joined by my colleague, Erin Brennan, who is our Senior Acquisitions Editor for our transportation discipline, among some other disciplines too. We are thrilled to have you join us today. A few housekeeping items before we get started. You are in listen-only mode, but we definitely want to hear from you throughout the session. Please use the chat box and the Q&A box to ask any questions and provide any comments. We will also have time at the end of the session for Q&A. And finally, we will be sending you a recording from today's sessions in the next few days, so you don't need to take notes unless you'd like to. So I have the privilege of introducing Joe today. Joe is a graduate of Metropolitan Community College in Omaha, Nebraska, and he is now leading the collision engineering program at his alma mater, MCC. The program is ASE accredited and also uses iCar Academy. Joe has been immersed in the automotive industry for over 20 years. I think you might have started when you were 10, Joe, going from paint preparation technician, refinishing, body repair, estimating, insurance, and thankfully education. He's an ASE Master Collision Repair Technician and maintains strong industry ties, and he's actively continuing his training. He's been serving as a Skills USA advisor for over 10 years. So welcome, Joe, and thank you for being here today. I'm going to let you share some more news about your Skills USA activity, a little bit more about yourself, your program, what motivated you to become the new co-author of this new 4th edition, and anything else you'd like to share with our audience today.
Hey, sounds great. Thanks, Kathy. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I think you got a gist of who I am by the bio there, but the automotive industry has been part of my life, honestly, since birth. I grew up in a blue collar household. My dad was actually a diesel technician, and honestly, I learned to work for everything that we ever had growing up. So when I was in high school, I applied for various different scholarships to attend maybe a 4-year university. And honestly, the stars really aligned for me to attend a community college. And I got a scholarship that paid for my tuition to actually go to the school where I currently teach at now. Again, I've been in the collision industry for over 20 years. I took night classes back then, and I worked at a local dealership body shop while I was going to school. After that, I started adjunct instructing at night at MCC. And then I ventured over to the insurance side for a little while. I spent some time with Farmers Insurance as an auto adjuster. And then honestly, the opportunity came up to fill a role of a full-time instructor out at MCC, and I've been doing that now for 10 years. As you'll see here, that I do spend some time volunteering for various organizations like ASE, Skills USA, and a few other nonprofits as well. I was really motivated to co-author the book because I wanted to find curriculum and I wanted to deliver industry relevant information to our students. At MCC, we're always trying to update our curriculum to meet these ASE standards. And I think the book can honestly serve the industry as a whole in education. So I am beyond blessed to work at and very fortunate to work at a world-class facility with great instructors out there. We have over 100 students in our collision repair program, and we actually have a high school career academy. We've got an accelerated program. We've got night classes, just like what I took when I was going to school. And then lastly, we have our new apprenticeship program called Collision Engineering. So it's a little bit about what I do every day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe. And behind every great author is a group of subject matter experts who are willing to share their time and expertise in the development of these new editions. We're really happy to highlight the 18 reviewers here who have worked on auto collision repair and refinishing. And we have some special call outs in yellow. One is to Amy Bogner, who reviewed the book for us and then authored the accompanying workbook. And Chris Kogan, who reviewed the book for us and then authored the accompanying shop manual. And then thank you too to Patty Fairchild, who developed questions for our new GW assessment platform, which we will review later in the webinar. And then the reviewers in green had registered for our webinar. You might be with us right now or going to watch the recording later, but Michael Bonsanto, Laura Lozano, Eric Pruden, Timothy Sievers, and James Zweggy thank you for registering for the webinar and continuing to be involved with this great textbook. Joe, I'm sure you'd love to add a couple extra comments about your reviewer team.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate all of the input from the reviewers on the book. We've got over 14 different states that have been represented, all from different facets of education, which I think is great. Again, I cannot thank you enough. I also want to I think GW did a great job on putting together one heck of a team for this book. Amy for the workbook, Patty for the help with GW assessment, and then Chris with the shop manual. So overall, we've got a great package to offer, and it's just a pleasure to be part of it.
Absolutely. And Aaron might have already put this in the chat, but if you're sitting there thinking you'd love to participate as a reviewer for forthcoming editions, please let Aaron know in the chat, and we'd be happy to connect with you afterwards. And with that, Joe, we're going to go ahead and get started with the book.
All right. So when you take a look at what we have to offer, what we call a complete solution in print and online, we've got various different things available, starting with the ebook itself. So obviously the ebook is text. It displays in Red Shelf e-reader. It's available for students that purchase that e-edition. Second thing listed there is the workbook that Amy helped us with. It works great for honestly reviewing the chapters. It ties the questions into specific learning outcomes. And if you take a look at the next one here, we've got the shop manuals. So the shop manuals are something that we've been utilizing a lot with our program. There's over 100 different individual jobs where students can walk through the tasks, check the boxes, answer various questions. And then at the end, the instructor can complete a performance evaluation with the students. So honestly, the shop manual and the job sheets have been a game changer for our school, and I think they could for a lot of different schools, especially when we're looking at competency-based assessments and rubrics rather than like subjective grading. So at the end of that, there's a 0 to 4 grading procedure, where 0 being zero exposure if the student was absent from one of those job sheets, and 4 being that the student was actually competent and completed the task independently. And as you may already know, that it aligns with the ASC standards as well. Next up there, a picture of the toolbox. That is the virtual toolbox. So what that is a series of e-flashcards where it's got a lot of the common tools we use in collision repair. So if you don't have those available to you, or if a student obviously doesn't have them at home, they're e-flashcards where you can flip the page and actually see what the name of the tool is after looking at the picture. Next up is the digital companion. So the digital companion has different matching activities similar to like Jeopardy that you would see. Also, that's where you'll see chapter reviews for the content, and then access to the ASC type questions as well in the digital companion. We'll be given a quick overview on the multimedia simulations here later on, but they're basically just different simulations with different types of different problems, such as measuring resistance in a series circuit to identifying parasitic draw. That's also an option for the multimeter as well. Instructor resources, that's something I'm honestly in weekly. In the instructor resources, you'll see answer keys, sample lesson plans, PowerPoint presentations. One thing I do want to add real quick was when it comes to the PowerPoint presentations, there are locked read-only versions that are pretty long for some chapters, but then there's also a standard PPTX that you could modify however you would like as well. So that actually takes us to that next item, which is the image library. So the image library is each individual image that was available from the text. You can click and drag, you can save those images to make your own presentations or add to those. And if you don't have access, again, to a specific tool or piece of equipment, it might be a great resource to snag one of those photos to add to your own presentation as well. Last thing there listed on the solution is the GW assessment that we talked about with the help of Patty. That is cloud-based assessment platforms that integrate into your LMS if you would like, including Google Classroom. You can also work directly in GW assessments to create and customize tests and quizzes. You can eliminate questions you may not like. And then the GW assessment also gives you the ability to physically print a final exam or a test, and then you could actually offer that on paper if you would like to. So definitely a game changer when it comes to exams and quizzes.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. I think next up is the table of contents.
All right. Well, being a co-author of the book, I had the opportunity to change a lot and really update a lot of this content. But we wanted the same feel of the ASE Education Foundation, um, and that we wanted to be set up similar to what it would be when you're working on a vehicle. So we spent a lot of time updating, obviously, every chapter of this book. Some things that are starred here are things that I kind of wanted to highlight, including, for instance, the EV chapter 20. When we talk about EV and collision repair, we talk about disconnect, we talk about reconnect, storing an EV, and then obviously handling an EV within a collision repair shop. Other items that you'll see on the table of contents that were adjusted a lot were chapter 10, really includes a lot of the OEM procedures and highlights those importance. And then the refinish chapter has really got a complete overhaul as well. One comment that I heard just recently was an educational consultant had a conversation with an instructor in California, and he was really grateful for the coverage on fasteners, which I thought was awesome. He said it's really important because he teaches a lot about fasteners, because in his world, there's a lot more parts getting replaced than repaired. So he honestly teaches a full week of fasteners, and that coverage in chapter 6 is extensive on fasteners, and he really appreciated that. I was pretty pleased to hear that we could maybe assist with implementing even more.
Absolutely. And if you're on the call today with us, if there's any specific chapters that caught your eye, why don't you go ahead and put those in the chat? We'd love to hear, what you're really interested in teaching from this book.
All right, so these are some of the items that are new to this edition that you may not have seen in the past. One thing that we've done is we've updated all of the tasks within the book to match the ASE Education Foundation. The most current task list is listed in here. So we've expanded the ADAS coverage. Just like cars are changing every day, our content and our curriculum needs to as well. So we've got updated procedures, additional warnings and cautions. And again, we emphasize OEM repair procedures a lot in the book. We've talked a little bit about that electric vehicles chapter. That was important to obviously integrate into our textbook. Aluminum, that's a big thing. It's been around forever. Unfortunately, not a lot of content has been updated to show that, reflect that. So now we have a focused on aluminum section that you'll see in many different chapters, because the aluminum side of repair for us obviously extends from refinishing to structural to like the non-structural sides of things as well. We do have a lot of areas in the book that talk about PPE and a warning to wear your PPE for certain circumstances. At the end of each chapter, you'll have the opportunity to look at know and understand, apply and analyze, critical thinking, as well as some different ASE type questions as well. And when we talk about hundreds of new images, believe it or not, I think I updated over 900 different images in the book to show the modern cars today, what we're working on, those standard practices as well. One thing I did want to highlight when it comes to the ASE type questions, I did a lot of work to try to eliminate some of those questions that could honestly send your class sideways. And as an instructor, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So I do think it's important to prepare our students for the future of ASE testing. And so obviously they're still there, but we did change up quite a few of those questions to make sure we could actually answer them as instructors.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So when we talk about certifications, it's really kind of a buzzword in our industry right now. When we discuss education and we talk about degrees and pathways, I know personally our administration talks a lot about certifications. So one thing we can do within the book is to try to actually prepare the students for different types of certifications. So here's a list of different certifications within our industry that's available to our students, or will be after school as well. So the ASE entry-level collision repair and refinish, by reviewing these chapters, you have that opportunity to take a look and get prepared for those refinish tests as well. including the B2 and the B10, B5 later on. ASE obviously always has the damage analysis and estimating certification as well, which is the B6. So by reviewing that estimating chapter, it really help out for that test as well. And then we've got the XEV safety certifications. You've got the options for 1 and 2. And by reviewing the EV chapter, students should be able to get some more insight and to better prepare for that certification too. The ICAR Academy badges we're going to talk about in just a little bit with the new correlation document that we're putting together. And then we do utilize the text in our collision engineering program as well. All right, moving down to the electric vehicle section. So this is a brand new chapter to this book. One thing that as a collision instructor that I was finding frustrating was we really needed to teach about the EVs, but did we actually need to purchase a whole nother textbook for it for what we're doing in modern collision repair? So what we've done is we've added chapter 20, the new EV chapter to the book. And just like I've talked about before, what we are really focusing on is the safety aspect of EVs and handling these vehicles. So within chapter 20, you'll see all the information about the class 0 gloves, the safety zones, arc flash, and all the other stuff that goes along with EVs. I will be 100% honest though, when we talk about electric vehicles, it isn't something I'm around every single day. So one thing I want to do is I want to thank Sean Bennett for his review of this chapter. He actually wrote the 2024 electric vehicles book with GW. So he got a chance to kind of review this chapter with me, and I really appreciate his assistance on it. One thing I also comment about on the EV chapter is being an instructor that can actually go out and do quite a few internship visits. I think that this chapter is honestly something that a lot of shops should probably review as well. It's a prime example of honestly what a student can bring to the table when they know what they're talking about in something like chapter 20 for EVs, because it is just as important that we're teaching our students and future entry-level technicians about these cars that it's actually happening in the repair shops as well.
That's great. And I think I saw one of your reviewers, Timothy, mentioned that the chapter 20 was done really well. So thank you for that comment, Timothy. And on to the chapter opening materials.
Yeah, so when you take a look at one of our chapters, you open up, for instance, chapter 11 here for welded and bonded exterior panel replacement. This showcases the chapter in one page. So we start off with the instructional outcomes or the learning outcomes. Instructional design, accessibility, and standard-based education are huge pushes right now in our market area. So what this book does is it pulls all that together in a practical way. At MCC, we can tie learning outcomes right to the specific sections of each chapter, and GW actually does that for us within the book. It makes life, honestly, a lot easier for me as an instructor when I'm working with instructional design folks out there at school. So I personally came from industry, as I talked a little bit about. I didn't start off in education. So this learning outcomes, it wasn't a natural fit for me. So what we've tried to do and really spent a lot of time on within the book was showing those outcomes and tying those into the exact sections of the book. So the book's been a great resource in helping me figure that out. And that was one of the important updates to hopefully help other instructors as well. Up next are the special features that you'll see within the text itself. So if you look through the text, you'll see a variety of different special features built in. So safety obviously is always the forefront of what we teach. So many of these are tied directly to that. For instance, from PPE reminders about personal health, we try to reinforce those key concepts beyond just the safety chapter. One of my biggest challenges, honestly, in the past was I wanted to avoid having to always scroll back to that safety chapter, right? So in this book, rather than having to do that all the time, we've integrated these little special features into each part of the text. So instead of constantly flipping back and forth, these features will serve as built-in reminders throughout the text. You may notice some repetition when it comes to these, but honestly, that's 100% intentional. The tech tips are also really cool. They're pulled from personal experiences of mine and then friends of mine that are also in the industry as well. Some of them are a little old school, and a lot of them are very new school as well. We wanted to make sure that the book was around for people that are doing everything from restoration sides and working with a lot of epoxies to our collision repair, and even those spot and repairs that you'll see too.
Wonderful.
When it comes to aluminum, we talked a little bit about that before. Aluminum is a big part of what we do. So we originally considered writing a standalone aluminum chapter, but the more that we looked at today's vehicles, the more we realized how integrated aluminum honestly has become. With OEMs pushing to make cars lighter and mixed material designs, aluminum is honestly a major part of the modern vehicle construction. So again, paint prep to structural repairs, it's everywhere. And because of that, we chose to incorporate aluminum focused content throughout every chapter. So you'll see this that's highlighted in different parts of the book and of the text. So rather than having just a standalone aluminum chapter, we've actually broke it out to say, hey, this is where aluminum can come into play with what you may be doing or what you're learning about, rather than isolating it in one section.
That's great.
Procedures, again, it's one of those things that we're talking a lot about, and we should always be talking about with our students. So when you take a look at the book, the procedures are honestly general guidelines, and it may vary depending on specific equipment that's being used at your schools or at your shops. And honestly, most importantly, are OEM procedures. So these procedures within the book are designed to help support schools that may not have access to the latest OEM information. So we're providing a lot of solid overview of common operations within the book. So with that being said, OEM procedures, though, are always referenced throughout the book and honestly should always be followed and reinforced. Within the book are a ton of different illustrations, and I will say was very happy to update these illustrations to reflect modern vehicles. So, for example, when you're teaching refinish blending, we've moved away from that outdated 1992 Ford Taurus into a vehicle that much better represents what our students see today and what they're going to be working on. So we've also updated all the colors and the terminology to match current vehicle designs and to meet industry standards, which was part of really updating again all the photos, but not only that, but these illustrations as well to depict what we're really seeing in the industry.
Wonderful. I'm going to talk a little bit about the end of chapter section. Every chapter does have an end of chapter section, and it includes a summary. The summary provides an additional review tool, and it reinforces those key learning objectives that Joe talked about earlier from the beginning of each chapter. It really helps students focus on these important concepts presented in the texts. You'll see that those learning outcomes and section numbers are included at the end of each summary point. So when Joe talked about adding that to this edition with the pedagogy and the instructional design, this is where it flows all the way to the end of chapter, so that if a student reads a summary point and thinks, I need to read up on that a little bit more, they know exactly what section to go back to, to check out that information for them. And then the end of chapter section also includes a variety of review questions. Joe touched on those earlier, and there's 3 different levels to meet the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So there's the know and understand questions, and that really is enabling students to demonstrate their knowledge, their identification, and their comprehension of the chapter material. Then you go a little bit further into apply and analyze questions, and those are really designed to extend their learning and develop the students' abilities to use that learned material in new situations and to break down that material into its component parts. And then finally, we advance to the critical thinking questions that really develop those higher order thinking skills, those problem solving skills, and then those personal and workplace skills. So that really provides a nice variance of questions at the end. And then Joe's going to tell you a little bit more about the ASE type questions at the end of each chapter.
Yeah, so again, just to prepare our students for some of those certifications from AFC, we have ASE type questions at the end of every chapter. So these are those standard Technician A, Technician B, mixed with some multiple choice as well. So they're designed to help become familiar with those types of questions. So again, students can encounter those later on when they're doing even more certifications as well. And again, just to highlight that, we really tried to spend a lot of time on these questions to ensure that the answers are correct, and that they are relevant to what we're doing today.
Wonderful. So many of you indicated on your registration page that you are currently using online resources in your courses. The majority of you mentioned that you're using Canvas, followed by Blackboard, D2L Brightspace, and Moodle. I'm happy to let you know that the GW resources, including Joe's book, provide real easy, seamless LMS integration and easy navigation for you and your students. And the good news is if you're new to digital resources or just need a little bit of extra assistance, we have a fantastic digital solutions team who will work with you and your LMS admin to make sure you're ready to go. Joe, you mentioned to me before we got started today about your experience working with Jordan and your LMS integration. Do you want to share kind of how the process worked for you?
Yeah, and I definitely give a shout out to one of my coworkers, Chris, because he really worked with Jordan to make that happen. So we have an integration specialist at MCC. So personally, I don't necessarily set up I don't integrate the GW content into Canvas, but then I obviously get to use it later. And so that was a good smooth transition for us. And I think that should be an option at a lot of your schools as well.
Wonderful. And then when it comes to the print and online options, I always like to call out our bundles. The bundles really provide the best value for your students, especially for your students who like both print and online options. So as you can see in the top print section, the arrow pointing to the printed textbook, it has a list price of $180. And then when you look at the last line in the digital section, which is our bundle that includes the textbook, plus all of the digital components that we're talking about today, it's just $14 more than purchasing the book alone. So it's something to consider if students do prefer print, but would really like access to all of those online resources, or if they really prefer online, but would love to have that text even as they begin their careers to have as a reference, those options are available to you. And just one other plug about the bundle, that would include the online ebook, of course, plus the online workbook and the online shop manual. So you really get a nice value for that package. So I just wanted to call that out to you. And then speaking of the digital components, Joe talked about the beginning of chapter section where we had the learning objectives, and then there was a section that is labeled technical terms. When your students do use the ebook, either on its own or as part of your learning management system, there's a number of simple digital activities that are designed to help them learn all of those technical terms in each chapter. So at the point of learning, they're able to click on that icon where the yellow arrow is pointing to, and that brings them to those variety of digital activities. There's e-flashcards that students can do on their own just to be able to flip through those and learn those important terms that way. I like the e-flashcards because they can customize them. So once they've learned a term, they can just remove that temporarily from their deck of e-flashcards and just focus on the ones that maybe they're struggling with. So I think they're very flexible that way. There's the matching activity that you see on the left there. I went ahead and took it. I might need some of your help. I have a lot of red responses. I did it very quickly, but what I like about the matching activity is students can do that matching and then they get immediate feedback as to how they did and can kind of test their own comprehension of those terms. And then finally on the right there, the Jeopardy style game that Joe mentioned. And a lot of our students and instructors enjoy this. It's very simple. They select the point value of the question. I've heard of people, students doing this on their own. I've heard of instructors starting class, doing, a little teams competition with this type of activity. But again, it's an immediate response to their answers so that they can determine, how well they're learning those terms. The digital companion also includes those end of chapter review questions and the ASE type questions. Those are in DocX formats so that programs not using a learning management system has access to all of those questions to be able to print them out for their students. And then we talked about the workbook earlier, just giving you a visual of one of the workbook chapters here. It's just a variety of review question types that reinforce the key concepts. It matches chapter by chapter with the textbook, so it's very easy to assign workbook as you're working on the specific chapters. And then it's really helping, again, those students to understand those terms, the concepts, and procedures that are presented in the textbook. And as we mentioned, that can be purchased as a physical workbook or have it online as well. I'll let Joe talk about the shop manual.
Yeah, so the shop manual includes 126 jobs that are honestly organized by categories. So non-structural repairs, refinish, structural, welding, mechanical, electrical, and estimating. So these jobs, they provide hands-on practice of the ASE Foundation collision repair and refinish tasks. And the jobs do help instructors develop the hands-on skills needed to succeed in the field. They're intended to be completed in the shop setting under the guidance of an instructor. So as you see the example here, in the shop manual, you can actually see that there's photos. There are questions going to relate back to the text as well. And then you have the option to do that performance evaluation at the end with the students as well. So it gives us a chance to actually utilize something similar to a rubric when it comes to, are we truly learning what's going on out in the shop? And again, it reinforces what they're learning in the book when they can do it there in that shop setting. The virtual toolbox is designed to give students that exposure to the tools and equipment that they're going to use within the field. It allows them to explore tool identification, function, and then proper use in a structured way. So this is especially valuable for programs that may not have access to every piece of equipment, or obviously if students don't have access to those at home, they can practice and be better prepared as they enter the repair industry.
Awesome. And did you mention earlier, Joe, that those are aligned to the ASE tool list as well?
Yeah, they are, and they're separated that way as well. So you'll see there's specialty tools, non-structural, structural, painting, and refinishing as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Just wanted you to know I'm listening. So Joe mentioned earlier too about the multimeter simulations that are part of the complete online solution with this new fourth edition. And there's 12 simulations that consist of 24 individual problems. They give students valuable experience performing voltage, amperage, and resistance measurements with a simulated multimeter. Students can practice installing the test leads in the correct meter jacks, selecting the proper meter function, preparing the circuit, and placing the test in the circuit without fear of damaging the meter. In many of the simulations, students are given the circuit diagram and asked to predict the value before performing the multimeter test. This drills the students on the application of Ohm's law to simple circuits. The simulated meter tests then allow the student to test their predictions, providing immediate feedback. In the final simulations, students are asked to apply their knowledge of Ohm's law, the simulated multimeter, and basic circuits to perform simple troubleshooting exercises. Joe, is there anything else you want to add about these or how they might help students?
Yeah, I think that the multimeter reinforces what you're actually teaching. So like for instance, here you can see make sure the circuit is powered off. You never want to measure resistance on a live circuit. Disconnect the battery or verify it's off first. Set your meter to ohms. Double check that your dial's on resistance, not volts or amps. So all of that can be reinforced by doing something like this that can honestly be turned into a homework exercise as well. So it reinforces that slow down, set the meter right, and honestly think about what's in between your leads.
That's awesome. And I know when I was kind of playing with the simulation myself, I like that it allows the students to have multiple attempts for each question. So if they get something incorrect, they're able to go back, recheck their work, answer the question again. It might be for a lower points value, but I like the fact again that they do get that immediate response and are able to work through these. That's great. Thank you.
All right, so when it comes to the online instructor resources, this is similar to what it's going to look like. So Again, you'll see those presentations that we talked about before that can be modified, or you can go with the one that's already pre-built. You'll have all of your access to your answer keys and your ASE alignments. One other thing that we're working on right now is that we've got an alignment correlation document for the ICAR Academy badges. I'll even talk more about that later, but uh, what we're going to do is it'll show where each badge is and it'll discuss where it's covered at in the textbook from the chapter down to the section. I worked with Chris and Aaron on this document, and really what it does, it even integrates the shop manual with an individual job numbers that'll correlate to those ICAR Academy badges as well. By the way, when we talk about the answer keys here in the instructor resources, by attending the webinar today, you all get a free pass to blame the author when it comes to those answers. So ASE questions, chapter reviews, hey, it's all fair game.
Wonderful. And the correlation guide that's on your slide now is the guide to the ASE Education Foundation task list. And just like Joe talked about, I love that it's aligned to both the textbook and the shop manual, organized by task there. So those are available for you right within your instructor resources. Hopefully that will help you either meet ASE accreditation or continue with yours.
So this is what the image library looks like when you open it up. This is an example from the chapter 20 electric vehicles chapter. Again, it's great if you don't have access to all of these tools or specific issues. One example would even be like, for instance, paint defects. So please take advantage of what my full Dropbox account here. Again, we've updated over 900 images within the text. You can save these. You can upload them to a presentation or even a Word document if you like, and they are all categorized by chapter. So you have access to utilize all of those photos within that image library.
That is wonderful. And they're images you're not going to find anywhere else, Joe. That was a lot of work that you put into it. And thank you for that. It certainly goes a long way for students, when everything is available to them visually, comprehension is a lot easier to handle. So that's awesome. I see your name next to a lot of these photos.
Yeah, I definitely filled my phone and my Dropbox up quite a few times. So
I bet. So we mentioned earlier a little bit about our new GW assessment platform, which is available with Joe's new edition of Auto Collision Repair and Refinishing. As we mentioned, that they're cloud-based, up-to-date, and easy to use. What I love about them being cloud-based is, as Joe mentioned, if there is something that we find that needs to be adjusted, we can do that in real time. And then all of your questions that are out, being used by instructors across the country, that will get updated for you. So in the old days, we'd have to wait for a reprint to change questions or answers, and now we can do it in real time for you. So I think that's a great advantage. You can customize assessments. You can use them as they are. You can customize them. You could either print them or assign them through your learning management system. When you use a learning management system with GW Assessment, you're able to provide that online delivery of the assessments, auto grading, and advanced reporting. It's, like I mentioned, cloud-based, seamlessly integrates with your learning management system, and no more downloads, uploads, or imports needed. I was at a conference recently for another discipline, and I think I talked to Joe about this too, but a lot of instructors are starting to tell us that they're also interested in administering tests in print, that there's a lot of AI situations out there, and that it's still great, even though we love auto grading and online delivery, nice to have an option too for printed exams when those are needed. I don't know if Joe, if you have anything to add about the assessments.
yeah, definitely. So we've been utilizing the book since its release here at the beginning of the year. I had a winter start, and I've gotten to play with GW assessment quite a bit. And to answer a lot of those questions that I see kind of coming through the chat, yes, you can modify any of the questions. You can add the questions. You can remove questions if you would like. So it is extremely easy to use as well. And one thing that I did was I printed off my exams for my last class this winter, and we took them with pen and paper, and I graded them afterwards. So it's something I haven't done in quite a few years, but I have been seeing some issues with AI assisting in exams and tests and quizzes, and there may be a day we go back to paper and pen, and sometimes that's what we're doing inside my classroom anyways. So I definitely enjoyed using it, and I think you will too, especially being able to modify everything within assessment.
Wonderful. And just like we said before with our digital team to help you with LMS integration, we certainly can help you with the GW assessment platform as well. So, don't be shy. Always look out. Let us know if you need any help with any of these things. So if you haven't received an online sample of the new 4th edition, I invite you to use your camera app to scan the QR code on the screen, which will take you to a preview request form. Once you submit the form, you'll receive an email in the next couple of days from our customer service department, and that's custserve@g-w.com, with access to your sample. Your sample will include the full online textbook, so you can look through it all, plus one chapter of all of the online instructor resources and ancillary materials that Joe covered today for you. So it's a great sample to be able to review everything, and it's available to you there. There's some other ways to receive the sample too, and we can go back to the slide if anybody needs me to, but I'll give you a minute to take a picture. Hopefully some of you have already gotten a sample and are reviewing it already, but if not, you can certainly order one today. I said I can go back to that if needed, but I just wanted to let you know about your wonderful GW educational consultant. It's really your first point of contact at Goodheart-Willcox. They're happy to provide you with product information, samples, online demos, quotes, or anything else you might need. They're also supported by our GW customer service representatives, our digital solution specialists, and other team members who really work together to make sure you have everything you need when you need it. So I really encourage you to connect with your local educational consultant. If you haven't met yours yet, there's a link on this page that takes you to our website, where you can find by whether you're high school, college, an industry training program, and the state you're in, and it'll connect you with your specific local educational consultant. So I know that Joe has talked about Jordan Forster. He's third from the left on the bottom row. That's Joe's educational consultant who he works with. And I think we have a number of our educational consultants on the call with us today. So like I said, they're your first point of contact and are just great. They're there for you whenever you need them. And then we want to make sure that we give you the opportunity to connect with us after today's webinar. I mentioned your GW educational consultant, so the link is there again today. If you'd like to contact Erin Brennan, again, if you'd like to become a reviewer, if you have inklings to become an author, anything else about the product feedback, you can certainly send Erin an email there. I put my email on there as well. If you have any general questions or if you need help finding somebody, I'm happy to be your point person for that. And then Joe's email is there too. He'd be happy to connect with you after today's webinar. You all have a lot in common. I'm sure it would be great to connect there. And then finally, we have a lot of conferences that we're going to be participating in coming up. There's the Skills USA National Conference. Joe, I think you're going to be there, right?
I do plan on going, but we've got to get there first. We've got our state contest next week, so we are preparing for that. But yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll be there.
Wonderful. That's great. We can't wait to hear about that. Erin will be at the AED Instructor Conference, which is in the Chicago area this year. We'll also be participating in the NACAT Conference, which is combining with the California Automotive Teacher Conference this year out in California. We'll be there. The UNOH seminar in Ohio. The ASE Instructor Conference, and Joe will be presenting a session there on modernizing collision repair education. So if you're going to be at the ASE Instructor Conference, please make sure you put Joe's session on your schedule there. And Erin, I believe Mandy Green is also presenting a session at the ASE Instructor Conference. We also have wonderful. The Midwest Teachers of Transportation and Industrial Areas, and some fall conferences. Of some of them we were just recently at this spring, but RMATS and the Illinois Automotive Conference, SEMA, APEX, and then the ACTE conference nationally that we go to every year. So lots of opportunities to connect with you. If you're ever at any of those, we'd love for you to stop by the Goodheart-Willcox booth so we can meet you in person as well. Yes, and great idea, Erin. If there's any conferences you plan on attending, let us know. If they're not on the list, we'd love to investigate those ourselves as well. And with that, we're ready to see if there are any questions from the audience.
Well, while folks are typing in any outstanding questions, I thought I'd review some of the chat. So Joe, you handled this one. Thank you so much. My friend Eric out of Penn College of Tech asked if instructors can add questions or customize questions utilizing GW assessment. And the answer is yes to all the things. So that was great. Thank you for that help there, Joe. I had to phone some friends in a separate chat to super confirm, but Joe to the rescue. Timothy, thank you for reviewing. Timothy, he said he's used the shop manual for several tasks already. Students retain more knowledge when filling out the sheets while doing the tasks. So I love that feedback. That's great. And then what else did we have? Thanks for the love for the EV chapter. And then also our friend, John Hildebrand, who has been a longtime subject matter expert and point of collision expertise for me. Thank you, John. He said, Joe brings real world credibility into everything he does. You see it in his teaching, and now you see it in his authorship. He set a high bar. So thank you, Joe, for being an author, taking on this revision and making it even more market relevant so that we can best prepare students for their future careers in the collision industry. But I don't see any other questions.
All right. I did have a chance to look at the registration survey, and I tried to cover what a lot of people were looking for today. So I hope we were able to get that done. One thing I did see that came up was that LMS integration thing. And so we did talk a little bit about partnering with your GW educational consultant to work with the instructional designer. Again, I have to thank on my end our instructional designer as well as Chris for making that all come together for us. But I think you will be very impressed with how these do integrate into those LMS portals.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we shared everybody's email addresses. So if there's a question that you think of after today's webinar, I'm sure that Joe and Erin and myself will be happy to connect with you and continue the conversation. But I just personally want to thank Joe so much for being here. I learned so much from hearing directly from you. I can't even imagine people with collision repair expertise being able to learn firsthand from you about the new edition. Appreciate everybody taking the time to be here today. As I mentioned earlier, we'll make sure and share the recording with you so that you can either share this with any colleagues who couldn't be here today or watch it again to learn more about this great new 4th edition. So you're getting some good comments in the chat there, Joe.
Love it. Thank you, Laura.
Thank
Gotta
you.
go, Joe.
I appreciate the love. I am honestly just like a lot of other instructors out here and was very fortunate and blessed to have this opportunity. So if there's anything else I can do, my email is listed here. I live it, I breathe it, I do what all of us do as instructors. So again, I appreciate everybody's time.